I'd like to tell you about a man I know. His son has been emotionally gone for years. Not physically, because he still lived in the same city. He still showed up for the big occasions if he was invited. He had a rule of thumb that if he was not invited to any occasion, he never moved an inch. So that was something about him that everybody knew and respected around him. But nevertheless, he still ensured to answer when his father called. But something shifted along the line long before the father noticed. The son stopped calling first. He stopped bringing his problems home. He stopped mentioning the new things happening in his life. He actually waited till those things were of public knowledge. So there was no surprise factor. There was no privilege of bringing those things to his parents first. He started giving his father the version of himself that required the least explanation because he didn't want to reveal too much. And there are many children actually on that path right now. And here's the irony of this whole scenario. In my previous video, I talked about a parent not actually knowing when a train has left the station. So his father loved him so much, loved him genuinely and deeply, that he kept saying the same thing about the boy, even though he started seeing some signs. So according to the father, he kept saying that the guy was just growing up. He has a new life now. He's trying to figure himself out. Adult life of a young, growing man is difficult, can be difficult. And things like, oh, that's what adult children do. Just give them space. He needs space, those kind of narratives. It went on until one day, a relative mentioned something. A significant thing that had been happening in the son's life for months. Something the father did not know about. The father had absolutely no idea about what this relative was telling him. Something the son has been carrying alone for a very, very long time. Then the father sat with that information he just received. And that was the wake-up call. That was the moment of awakening for the father. Not the news itself. It was not a good news, but the fact that he was the last to know sent shivers down his spine. It was a huge surprise. It was shattering for him. It was devastating for him. It was like a wake-up call. And then, in that very, very moment, he found reasons to ask himself a question that I think is one of the most important questions a parent can ask. Now, the question is, when did I become someone that my child manages instead of someone that my child talks to, instead of someone that my child can confide in? When did this happen? When did this break happen? When did things change? What has really changed? Because obviously he could see that there was a difference, a real one, a major difference, a significant difference. A child who talks to you brings you the unfinished version of what is happening in their world. They bring you the messy version. Now, they bring you the version that still has space in it, questions in it, that still has spaces for you to exert your influence, where your opinion can still be accommodated, where your opinion can still influence the final outcome. However, a child who manages you selects what you receive. It gives you enough to keep you comfortable, to keep the relationship going. And it tells you what you need to hear so the conversation stays short and safe. So they are not cutting you off. However, they are not going all in with you. And the painful truth in all of this is that most parents who are being managed do not even know it. And that's because the child has learned to manage their parents and they've become very good at it. I mean, they've been on this road for a long time, perfecting their skills, perfecting their self-developed safety alternative. I mean, they've been developing that mechanism for years. So they're experts now, and they've managed to be at the top of it just to survive. Are you an adult child watching this? I have a question for you. When did you make that switch? When did you go from talking to your parents to managing them? And are they aware that that's what's going on right now? I genuinely want to hear that answer because I think it will help parents generally to understand some certain situations. It will help them more than anything I can say in this video. So, as a parent who has found him or herself in this particular situation I've tried to describe, what do you do? What are your options? And I want to be specific because most discuss about estranged adult children who go no contact. Mostly want to give emotions and psychological whatever. They try to be philosophical about whatever they say. But I want to give you something tangible, something that you can actually use, something practical. So stay with me. So the first one is the hardest, and here is it. Stop knocking the very same way you've been knocking all these years. Because here's the thing about a door that's been sealed by time and repeated disappointment. You cannot kick it open, you cannot charm it open, and you cannot guilt it open. Now, the louder you knock, the harder you knock, the more it confirms everything that they've already decided about what happens when they let you in. So, if I'm allowed to make a recommendation, the first move is to change what your knock sounds like. And how can you do that? This is how. It's to ensure that you're not making a demand. You're not explaining. You're not sending a long message that covers everything that you've always wanted to say for the last couple of months. Because I know in the course of thinking about this situation, in the course of sitting with it and reasoning about it, some things came to your mind, some ideas came to your mind that you might want to share, but this is not the time for it. But this is the time for a very short message where there is no agenda, with nothing attached to it. Just a message that says something like, I love you. I'm not going anywhere. And whenever you're ready, I'm here. In whichever words you prefer to use to communicate that, that is the best place to start. Then stop. But most importantly, when you say those words, you must mean them. Because what you're really saying with that message is not the words. They've probably gotten to that stage where your declaration of love is not going to move mountains. So words are not what it's about. What you are saying actually is, I'm not going to make this about myself. I'm not going to make it about my need to feel better right now. I'm going to hold this door open. I'm going to hold it open without standing in the doorway, demanding that you walk through based on my schedule. I'm going to give you time. But while you take your time, the door stays open. That message sent once and meant genuinely does more than 1,000 and millions of long explanations. Here's what it does actually. It plants a seed, and seeds, when planted in a good soil, even if the ground feels completely frozen, eventually, if given time, it finds its way up. It grows. There'll be a move. There'll be a response.